We are live. We are live. Welcome to college football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and your friends if you want to support this college football's rebel outpost with a donation. Hit the $ where you make a comment, and I'll get to super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody, and I mean everybody, even Caleb Ramirez, even the Florida man, even Joaquin Morales and his Sun Devils, even Humble Bumble Duck and that Mr. Seminole Morris Simmons. Rock and Rant is even invited into the studio that sits on the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend. With your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. Bring on the cold. Bring on the cold. Finally, it has arrived. The first round playoffs, college football's first round playoff games on campus. Now the great debate is raging across the land. Does it help the northern schools play a playoff game on campus against a southern school in the month of December, in the third week of December? Is that cold weather going to give a little bit of an advantage to the northern schools? Or is it a bunch of propaganda? Northern propaganda. Let me know in the comments section. Let me know with your phone calls. Let me know. I'm going to give you my opinion. I am 56 years old. I am the fat guy from Minnesota. I have watched a lot of football in my life. And I'm going to give you my perspective on it. It's not a southern one. It's a northern one. It's an outdoors one. And it has a lot to do with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, is college football playoffs going to be the same thing? Is it going to show what I have seen in the history of the NFL playoffs? I don't know. But we're going to find out together. I'm going to give you my opinion. Then I want to hear from your opinion. And none of us walk in each other's shoes, right? This is a national college football channel. Everybody's going to have a different perspective on it, a different history on it. Will the cold weather actually help the northern schools? Does the warm and humid weather help the southern schools in the late August, early September, into late September against the northern schools? Or is that a bunch of southern propaganda? Let me know in the chat room. Let me know with your phone calls. And we're going to be breaking down again. We made our predictions for the playoff games. I've got Notre Dame covering Friday night. You guys got Indiana. It is 7.5 point spread. 7.5 point spread. Let me post it up on the screen. I'm already doing a lousy job. The host is already screwing up. Indiana plus 7.5. You guys are getting the 7.5. I'm giving the 7.5. I've got the Fighting Irish. No disrespect at all to the Indiana Hoosiers. I respect the hell out of that team. I think the players are fantastic. I think the coach, I think they deserve to be in the playoffs. I've got the Hoosiers back, except it is more important for me to have Greg the Gold make a playoff appearance. Yes, it's happening. Do you remember last year? I did a clean sweep of the 3 playoff games, the semifinals, championship game against the spread. Yes, I did. And this year, am I going to go 11-0? Is Greg the Gold showing up? I think so. Yes. Okay, so Indiana, let's go through it real quick. We've got a stacked show today. We're going to get to your phone calls as soon as I possibly can. I've got the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. You've all got Indiana. We're going to break that game down a little bit more today. Penn State and SMU, again, those are the 2 weather games, right? Indiana and Notre Dame, they're right down the road from each other. South Bend, Bloomington. So that's not a weather game. This SMU Penn State, how much, if any, more advantage does Penn State get from playing in Happy Valley? Let me know in the comments section. Let me know with your phone calls. Let me know. And I'm going to give you my opinion, and then we're going to get to you guys' opinion. And in this game, we both have Penn State. Greg the Gold and the geniuses in the PATC family Both have taken Penn State to cover against the Mustangs, against the Ponies, Texas and Clemson. Now, we both took Clemson in this one. We both took Clemson in this one. I've got questions all over the place. Quinn Ewers, I've got questions. I've got questions about his health. I've got questions about Texas's running game. I did at the very beginning of the year, and that hasn't gone away. I don't question the Longhorns' defense at all. Their tackling ability in open space. We've been talking about it all year. And Clemson, you've got problems. You've got injuries. You're all nicked up in the backfield. The Clemson Tigers are all nicked up in the backfield. So they're relying more and more on Klubnik. And you know what? They're getting a little bit more and more from Klubnik. But again, we're going to talk more about this game. You can call us up here at Peek Around the Corner. We're going to open up the phone lines. Give me your thoughts on the Clemson Longhorns game. Again, we both took the Clemson Tigers to cover. Tennessee at Ohio State. Now, this is a weather game, right? How much more or if any advantage do you think the Buckeyes are going to get playing at home in Columbus? It does get cold in Knoxville. It does. But, it's not quite the same. And we're going to be talking about it here at Peek Around the Corner. We're going to be going through I consider this a great article, a teamwork article written in The Athletic. We're going to be going through that article, talking about, and they do discuss Tennessee at Ohio State. So give me your opinion, guys, in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. First of all, we got to get to some news. A whole lot of news going on. More news. You can't. We're trying to keep up here at Peek Around the Corner. We are doing the very best that we can. Dennis Dodd, here's the Netflix SEC announcement. Netflix announces new sports series following college football's preeminent powerhouse, the SEC. Netflix announced today that it is in production on a season-long series that follows the college football's most dominant conference, the Southeastern Conference, during the 2024 season. The synopsis: the series places viewers inside some of the college football's most storied programs in the SEC through unfiltered access to the coaches and players on and off the field, on the buses, in the locker rooms, at the barbershops, around the fire pits, running out of the tunnels, and more. We take an exclusive look at key matchups throughout the SEC season to show the passion and drama of college football's leading conference. The Netflix sports series follows the entire 2024 college football season and will premiere in the summer of 2025. Well, it might follow the entire 2024 college football season, but it does not follow this Netflix series, SEC. It does not follow all the SEC teams in the conference. Brett McMurphy, Action Network. SEC football programs not participating in Netflix series are Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and Texas, source said. First reported by Seth Emerson. Remaining 10 SEC schools will be featured in Netflix series next summer. Now, I don't know the reasons why. I don't know. Now, look, Oklahoma and Texas were new schools going in the SEC. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they couldn't get them on the contract. I don't know. I would have liked to seen Lane Kiffin be a part of this out of Ole Miss, but He's not. Kirby Smart is a fun one to watch. So, again, a Netflix series coming out next summer talking about the season prior. This season prior. NCAA transfer portal. Colorado has landed a commitment from former Liberty quarterback Caden Salter. Wow. The past season, Salter threw for over 1,800 yards, 15 touchdowns, rushed for 688, 7 touchdowns. First of all, I got a couple quick thoughts on it. And I'll take your thoughts in the comment section or with phone calls. How does Caden Salter's game transfer to the Big 12? He did a lot of moving around with Liberty's offense. They had him, he was on the move constantly. And that was against other G5 opponents. So, first of all, that is my first thought. Now, I think the kid's got a lot of talent. It's the reason why I predicted Liberty to win, to be the G5 representative 2 years ago, not this year so much. I thought they'd be the best G5 team 2 years ago. And they were, basically, but they got blown out in the bowl game. Caden Salter going to Colorado would also mean that 5-star true freshman quarterback may not start as QB1 right out of the gate. And that's probably a good thing for Colorado. So that is a big time portal news. Mr. Salter going to be a Colorado Buffalo under Deion Sanders. And I'm guessing he'll probably compete and win the reins as QB1 starting the season for Colorado. Wake Forest is hiring Washington State's coach Jake Dickert to replace Dave Clawson. Wow, I don't know what's going to happen with Washington State. I don't know, guys. I don't know. That is another big hit for the Cougars. The Wake Forest job is deemed to be more valued than the Washington State job at this point. Tough times. Minnesota transfer offensive lineman Philip Daniels has signed with Ohio State Buckeyes. I think this is the first transfer portal get for the Buckeyes. This is the first starter that the Gophers have lost, and I think it's going to be our only one into the portal. Philip Daniels, he's from the Cincinnati area. The Buckeyes were his dream school. As a redshirt freshman this year, he started the last 4 games of the season. He graded out pretty good. He's got a lot of promise. Philip Daniels has got a lot of promise. The Buckeyes pick up the starting right tackle of my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers. Penn State quarterback transfer Bo Pribula, who arrived at Missouri yesterday for a visit with the Tigers, is also expected to visit Iowa. Iowa, UCF, and Indiana. Woo! Pribula ranks as one of the top uncommitted quarterbacks in the portal. Well, you know, I haven't seen... I don't know, like, I haven't seen him throw the football, right? I'm going to have to go to... I'm going to have to take a look at his high school tapes. I'm going to have to... But the way he moves, the athlete that this guy is, he's a top athlete. From what I've seen, this guy is a top athlete. But Drew Alder's coming back. Bo is leaving Iowa, UCF, Indiana, and he just left Missouri. One of those teams, I think, is going to get a very promising, very, 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 very promising, very promising quarterback. Big news out of the Ivy. Pete Thamel, sources. The Ivy League has agreed to participate in the NCAA Division I FCS playoffs, starting with the 2025 season. That's next year. The league had long ended its season at the end of the regular season. Marks a distinct shift for the Ivy League football, which now can play for a national title. The genesis of the idea for the Ivy League to play in the FCS playoffs came via proposal from the Ivy League student athletes. Good for them. Good for them, and good for the Ivy League institutions to listen to their student athletes. The proposal from the league student athletic advisory committee was approved Tuesday by a vote of the Ivy League Council presidents. And you notice how quick the FCS said, okay, all right. The winner of the Ivy League, the champion gets an automatic berth to the FCS playoffs. They turned that quickly. Now, I don't know like Connecticut fan says maybe an Ivy League champion in the next decade. Anything's possible. Anything is possible. Right now, they're not going to. As long as the Missouri Valley Conference remains the Missouri Valley Conference, it's going to be. It's a David and Goliath type of thing. Right now. But who knows what these Ivy League institutions are going to do. What more changes is on the horizon, if there's anything else on the horizon. Right away, I don't think the Ivy League schools are going to be all that competitive in the playoffs. And we already do see that. We see blowouts in the FCS playoffs. And I think that's okay. I think it's great that some of these FCS conferences get their champion into the playoffs. And so this is great. Fantastic. Now we are going in to the big story. Immaculate Ivy League has way more money. Yes, they do. And resources. Yes, they do. The question is are they going to use them? Are they going to use them for sports endeavors? And right now, the answer has been no, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. How much will cold college football playoff weather matter? A Big Ten versus the SEC debate. From the Athletic. Before we get to that, let's get to Mo and Vision. You think darkness is your ally. You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then, it was nothing to me but blinding. I don't know what movie Mo and Vision got this from, or maybe he wrote it himself. He is a man of art. Mo and Vision is a man of intelligence and art. So, somebody let me know if that is Mo and Vision's own writing, or is that some popular movie that I did not ever watch. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. Thank you for your support. As always, in front of the camera, behind the camera, and everything else. Thank you, Mo and Vision. Appreciate it. Appreciate the super chat. Batman. Okay. There it is. Okay. Let's get to the cold. Bring on the cold. It's been a debate forever, and now we're finally going to see it played out on the football field. Right? the football field. Emerson, Doctorman, The Athletic. Well, I don't go through the whole article. I will provide a link in the description box. You can read the whole thing. Northern college football fans have discussed with delight the opportunity for Southern teams to travel to the Midwest or to the Northeast for a cold weather game when it matters. Now they get their wish with a 12-team college football playoff. The tournament debuts this weekend with 4 contests on campuses that include 2 games with Southern schools traveling north. Dallas-based SMU flies to Penn State, which has a predicted high of 25 degrees on a Saturday afternoon. For a Saturday night kickoff at Ohio State, Tennessee will experience a projected low of 14 degrees. 14 degrees. How weather will impact those teams depends on your viewpoint. The Athletic college football writers Seth Emerson, SEC, and Scott Doctorman, Big Ten, tried to work together on a story, yet the reviews were so different the format changed. To better understand one another's outlook, which largely mirrors people from their regions, they offered up contrasting back and forth segments. Where's our heat? Doctorman. On a pleasant mid-November Saturday in the Midwest and the Southeast, ESPN's Laura Rutledge sideline report in the second quarter of the Tennessee-Georgia game brought the weather discussion to the forefront. Well, Chris Fowler, it's a breezy 55 degrees down here, and on the benches for Tennessee, the heater on the wide receiver portion of the bench is not working. It's not working. Rutledge reported, they've been really cold. They just gave them the heat from the running backs part. Incredulous Fowler replied, come on, wait a minute, Laura, 55 degrees. I'm telling you, it's chilly, Rutledge said. These receivers have been asking for heat. And now the running backs are going to come back after this drive and say, where's our heat? Who needs heat at 55? Kirk Herbstreit asked. If Tennessee's receivers vacated a non-heated bench on a 55-degree night, what are they going to do on a Saturday night at Ohio State? I've witnessed the misery of Southern football players dealing with freezing weather firsthand, with winds howling from the southeast at 12 miles per hour, and we'll feel temperatures dipping into the high single digits in November 2020. Minnesota coach PJ Fleck called a timeout with 19 seconds left to prevent a shutout against Iowa. Fleck's counterpart Kirk Ferentz chose pettiness despite the cold and called 3 consecutive timeouts to extend the game by about another 5 minutes. Concurrently, Iowa running back Tyler Goodson, a Georgia native, shivered on the sideline. Now a running back with the Indianapolis coach, Goodson said, the heated benches in the cold saved me. Goodson was outstanding that night with 142 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he struggled to cope with the brisk environment when he wasn't carrying the football. For an entire roster like Tennessee or SMU, acclimating themselves to temperatures 40 degrees cooler than what previously required heated benches color me both intrigued and skeptical. It gets cold in Tennessee and Texas too. Emerson. That Tennessee story sounds damning. It's also overblown. The heated benches were out for only 5 minutes, and the people around the Volunteers were surprised such a big deal was made out of it. Also, it does get cold in Tennessee. That's hill country. There seems to be a perception up north that every day down here is a warm air, palm trees, and Mai Tais. The truth is that unless you live below a certain part of Florida, you're well acquainted with the cold. Excuse me. The truth is that unless you live below a certain part of Florida, you're well acquainted with the cold. Not as cold as our friends up north, but a solid enough winter. There's a reason snowbirds flock to Fort Lauderdale, not Macon or Birmingham, Alabama. In the SEC, a bunch of overrated wimps who refuse to play in real football weather. This is one of those tropes that Southerners see as an excuse from their Midwestern brethren. But there could be something to it. FCS and Division II teams from the South have been doing this for years, going up north in the playoffs or late in regular season games, so I called up a couple of coaches. 7 years ago, Kennesaw, Georgia, State flew into the biggest November snowstorm that Bozeman, Montana had seen in years. When the team landed at the airport, naturally the players started a snowball fight. You're going to let them do that? The school president asked then coach Brian Bohannon. Why not? Bohannon answered. Half of them have never seen snow. By kickoff the next day, the snow was barely cleared from Montana State's field, but it was still 20 degrees. Despite the elements, Kennesaw State eked out a 16-14 win, clinching a spot in the FCS playoffs. They're not used to this weather. Document. Southern teams can overcome wintry conditions and win games on northern campuses. But there is a difference between living in an environment where 30-degree highs and winds are commonplace and locations where that temperature dips that low once a week. Northern players live in the cold, so dealing with it is second nature. Southern teams must conquer that element while they compete against a northern squad. Although there are examples of Southern teams performing well in the north, remember it took the NFL's Tampa Bay Buccaneers 26 years to win a game with temperature below 40 degrees. Often, winter matchups turned out like last week's FCS quarterfinal between Incarnate Word and South Dakota State. Incarnate Word's football team departed from its San Antonio campus a day early last week to acclimate to an unforgiving environment awaiting them in Brookings, South Dakota. The Cardinals traded temperatures in the mid-60s for a 17-degree wind chill at kickoff. That was the warmest day of the week for the Jackrabbits, who practice outside. They practice outside. During the game, Incarnate Word quarterback Zach Kazada wore long sleeves. He wore them long sleeves. South Dakota State counterpart lathered his exposed arms in Vaseline. Gonowski, the great quarterback, by the way, of the Jackrabbits, the two-time defending, reigning, undisputed champion Jackrabbits embraced the elements and won 55-14. All throughout practice, we had to take this cold as an advantage, especially with a team from Texas, South Dakota State cornerback said after the game. They're not used to this weather. We just knew that even though it's cold weather outside, it's Brookings, South Dakota, it's December football, it's what it's going to be, and we just decided to embrace that. The Penn State and Ohio State squads would take a similar mindset this weekend. In State College, located in the mountainous central Pennsylvania, the average high temperature on December 21st over the past decade is 37 degrees. This Saturday, the predicted high is 27, with northwest winds at 15 miles per hour. That's a wind chill of about 15 degrees. In Columbus, the daytime high is 30 degrees, which is right balmy the weekend before Christmas. At both teams. Teams will have heat at both games. Teams will have heated benches, but only one side panicked previously when they were not working. When Tennessee's heaters began to work again, Fowler said, "Thank goodness you can call off the frostbite alert on a 55-degree night." Ad rules expert Bill Lamonier, "If we were officials in the Big Ten, we'd have been wearing short sleeves." It's true. It's all in the preparation. It's all in the preparation. Emerson. Tennessee folks will argue they did not panic over a 5-minute issue with the seat heaters. Maybe they'll ask SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey to have a quick talk with the ESPN about that one. Last week in Knoxville, the low was 17 one night and 19 two other nights. Tennessee has been practicing at 9 a.m. last week and at 10 a.m. this week, rather than the warmest part of the day in the late afternoon. Now, here's the thing. Tennessee, like any good SEC program, knows all this. It has quality control people who are preparing the players for this, and it's gone through this to practices and occasional games too. SMU may not be ready, given the average low in Dallas is in the 40s. But if the Mustangs can keep it close, it goes back to what the coaches said. Adrenaline has a way of warming the body up. It's great that this is happening. NFL games in the snow, or at least where it's so cold you can see everyone's breath, are great. These games this weekend in cold weather is wonderful. The only regret is only 2 of them feature a Southern team as a visitor. If only there were more opportunities to shut you Yankees up. Personal note, the writer is from Maryland and his wife's from Michigan, so he knows all about bad weather and thinks that bolsters his position. Bring on the cold. As you can tell, neither reporter will budge on the weather issue when comparing teams from northern and southern climates. Should the northern teams prevail, the weather trope will embed itself into every discussion about the college football playoffs future. If the southern teams play well and advance, it breaks the stereotype and provides confidence for other teams to do the same in future years. And here is the PATC money shot of the article. Either way, playoff games on campus, North and South, are here to stay, and we are here for it. A great article. Emerson Dockterman from The Athletic. Great article, beautifully written. We did not go through the whole thing. We skipped some of it. So let me give you my opinion on it. About the weather. How does it affect Southern team playing against the Northern team? And then we're going to open up the phone lines. You can talk about any of the college football playoff games. We came out early this Wednesday, December 18th. You can talk about anything we've talked about in the last couple of live shows. Whatever your heart desires, give us a call when I open up the phone lines. Let me give you my thoughts. There is an impact. There's too much data to deny it. When growing up watching the Minnesota Vikings during the 70s, in the 80s, before they played in that horrific Metrodome and now the beautiful indoor stadium they have now, the Vikings rarely ever lost a home game, a playoff game. to any warm Southern or California team. The Los Angeles Rams came to Minnesota so many times in the playoffs, and the Vikings would always beat them, like every single time. Now, the Vikings could not win in a Super Bowl, in a warm-weathered Super Bowl game, as they went 0-4, and they still are 0-4 in Super Bowls. But they always won their home playoff games, and they won their regular season games against warm-weathered teams that came up in early December in Minnesota. We have seen it. It's statistically, the impact is there in the NFL. We don't know the impact in college football. Usually in November, we don't have Southern teams coming up to play Northern teams. Now, that might change here in the future because of college expansion. We didn't really, we see a little bit with USC traveling to Notre Dame over the years. Hopefully, we'll see more of that within the Big Ten. But we don't really have the data. So we really don't know. But I think it's going to have some impact. But again, it doesn't mean it's like the most important thing in that football game, because it's not. It's just, it's not going to be anywhere close to an automatic win. It depends a lot on how the teams, how good you're, for example, I think SMU is going to have I think SMU going up to Penn State is going to struggle with the environment up there, even if it was 55 degrees or 60 degrees. That environment, when you play Penn State, when you do it the first time, SMU is going to be, I think they're going to struggle with the elements beyond the weather. And that's just going to be added on top of it. Tennessee and Ohio State, it's going to be a night game, prime time. It's going to be cold. Tennessee's going to have to be mentally on their game. I think the Buckeyes are going to crush them. I happen to think Ohio State's going to crush Tennessee. I happen to think Penn State's going to beat SMU pretty easily. So I've got the Southern teams losing, but in my mind, it really isn't going to be much about the weather. For these two particular games, I think there's other factors that are going to play a larger point factor in the game. Like the Buckeyes defensive line, I think is going to crush the Volunteers offensive line. And I think that's going to happen in 75-degree weather, 85-degree weather, 14-degree weather. So I happen to think there is some impact. Some. I don't know how to measure it. Some. Not great, not big, but some impact for a Southern team to come up and play a Northern team up north. I do think the trope, or whatever you want to call it, is going to continue. Because I happen to think SMU and Tennessee are in a world of hurt going into these games. Now, no matter what happens to SMU against Penn State, SMU's had an incredible season. Nobody can take away the Mustangs season. What they've achieved, what Lashley, those guys has achieved is unbelievable. And congratulations to Tennessee. I just think they both lose. And then we're going to be talking about more of this next year. And I don't know if this is going to affect college football playoffs and how Sankey looks at it. I don't know. What I do want coming out of this, okay, it's not what I want, because actually I want to keep the playoffs the way it is. A 12-team playoff. 4 byes. I like it how it is right now. I want everything to stop. but it's not going to stop. It's going to expand. I think if these home campus games, all four of them, Notre Dame, Penn State, Ohio State, all these games in Texas, I think it's going to make everybody want to have more first round. In other words, I think we're going to go to 16 eventually, and we're going to have 8 home games on campus. I think the scheduling is going to be difficult on that, but I think that's where we are heading. No buys, because eventually they're going to point out how buys are an incredible advantage, and they are. And I happen to think conference champions should get that advantage, but whatever. I think eventually we're going to 16 with 8 home games on campus. And then the following week will be the bowl games. The 4 big bowl games, 2 big bowl games for the semifinals, and then the championship game. So I think there's an advantage. I'm going to open up the phone lines. Let me know what you think. Talk college football, anything you want. 763-260-1333. It would be difficult, Jared Jones. The scheduling part of it, I don't have an answer. Atlanta Falcons destroying the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau when Michael Vick's legs were supposed to freeze. Yeah. Northern team don't always win. But, statistically, there's enough data there to show that it helps. I mean, it's there. If you just Google it, you'll see it. I don't know what's going to happen with college football, though. I don't know, guys. We're just going to have to follow it. Let me know your opinion. Is Penn State backup going to Iowa? I don't know. He's taking a visit. Pribula is taking a visit to Iowa. Taking a visit to Iowa. He's just got out of Missouri, visited Missouri. Going to UCF, Indiana. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. All I know is that young man is an incredible athlete. That young man is an incredible athlete.
All from
Immaculate.
Immaculate. He is. He's picking Pribula up at the airport in Iowa City. He's going to be driving him around, and then he's going to be dropping him off at Kinnick Stadium, and then they're going to notify Immaculate when to pick up Bo Pribula and bring him back to the airport. How you doing, sir? Thanks for calling. The floor is yours.
Good, man. Good to talk to you. And it's funny you say that because I got a call to do that. And then I was like, okay, well, where else is he going to go? And they're like, oh, UCF. I'm like, oh, that's not a problem. He just wants to go visit Disney World. It's not a problem. Where else is he going to go? Oh, he's also planning to go see Cignetti at Indiana. And I'm like, never mind, cancel my flight. I am staying in Arizona. You're not beating that man at getting a transfer quarterback after what he's done this year with one. So,
I got a question. What is separate from the Pribula visiting Indiana? What is Indiana like? Tavon Jackson? Do they have like? Are they looking for a QB1? I mean, what is their? I don't know what their plans are. I guess I haven't heard anything, and they're in the playoffs, so it's hard for them to,
Yeah. I think their quarterback is going to move on. I don't really know what they have in the, loaded up after that. But if Cignetti wants that kid, if he wants him, I don't see how we beat him. And when you look at Rourke, transfer quarterback coming in, the year he's had, look, I got to be realistic. I'm always the guy that talks about be realistic about our situations. It's Iowa. It's not a great example that we have in the past few years with quarterbacks. Now, I think Lester is going to do better, but I don't think that he really has something to sell against Cignetti right now. And I really wouldn't want to go full all out. Because when we've got Sullivan for this year, and now we just got the guy from Auburn to get tooled up for a year and then take over, the next year. So it's kind of like what I mean. If he comes and he's just like, I just want to be here. I just want to be here. Oh, okay, fine. We'll figure it out. But if it's a salesmanship thing, it's like, well, how much are you going to give me? I'd be like, not much, man. Go talk to Coach Signetti.
Well, you got Hank
He's
Brown.
good, and
you got Hank Brown, and he had a really good,
yeah,
impressive high school career. So
yeah, I think that's what I said when they got him. I said the one thing, because I don't know a whole lot about these guys, but the one thing that I want to see on a kid before I would be like, yep, that's the one we should get, is a redshirt freshman. To me, that was the number one priority. Don't get a sophomore. They're going to want to play first year. And I think Sullivan is primed to have a good season. He's finally going to get all the practice snaps, all the preparation, not be second. Everything focused on building an offense around him. I'm really looking forward to that. And so when they went and got a redshirt freshman to kind of learn underneath that, and kid who has a cannon for an arm, but also seems to have some athleticism to also learn the move and learn the offense that Lester is trying to run, I think that they're good. So, I mean, if this kid comes in here and just absolutely has to be at Iowa, well, then I guess maybe you take a look at it. But if I was putting money on it, I'd be putting it on Indiana.
Yeah. You may be right. We'll see. Maybe Iowa's loading up some big money, though. Maybe they'll just blow him away with an offer.
It might.
Yeah.
They might. I mean,
Yeah.
he's going there first. He's going to Indiana last. So it kind of feels like he's going there to let them do the final sale.
He's already been in Missouri.
Yeah, he went to Missouri. He's coming to Iowa. He's going to Disney World. I mean, UCF. And then, which is just total outlier. Like, I just think he wants to go to Orlando. And then Indiana. And to me, it's probably either Missouri or Indiana.
I tell you what, if I was a great athletic quarterback like Bo Pribula, and I'm going to meet with Scott Frost, my very first question would be, all right, I'm interested, Coach Frost, but are you going to have 15 design runs for me? I know you want to use my legs, but are you going to beat me up like you beat every Nebraska quarterback up that you had playing in the Big Ten?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be my very first question. I'll run because that's part of my game. I'll run. But are you going to run me 15 times a game? That'd be my first question.
And that's another thing he's going to have to ask at Iowa.
Nope.
That is an RPO offense. Look at Sullivan. How many shots he took. Look at him running. Got to be a tough kid that operates that Iowa offense that they're building. I think that's why they got that kid from Auburn. He's pretty sturdy.
Yeah. Yeah.
This kid from Penn State, a lot of talent. I look at him though and go, I don't know. He's about the size of Sullivan. He's got to be as tough as Sullivan as he's going to do that, because Sullivan's tough, and even he got banged up. So we'll see what they do this year. We'll see. That's my thoughts on that one, though. I got to tell you though, in terms of quarterbacks, the one that's most interesting to me right now is the one going to Colorado.
Yeah, and and that kid's tough.
That was eye opener.
And that kid's
he
tough.
Is good.
Yeah.
And I had huge questions on Colorado because I've said some things like I think it's Arizona State and Colorado going forward, but I didn't know who they were going to get for quarterback. And to get this kid was, everyone was looking like, hey, who's going to go for this? I mean, I that immediately pretty makes it sure to me. I think that the front runners next season for the Big 12 are Arizona State and Colorado. And I don't necessarily know that it's close. I think those are who everyone's going to be calling for next year. So that was huge. I mean, Dilly and Dion show in the Big 12.
Utah getting Devin Dampier, the New Mexico kid. He's a tough kid too. I mean, he ran. He's got some. Look, I think he threw for 12 touchdowns and threw 12 interceptions, and he's going to have to grow in his throwing game. But that's a kid who will run, and I think he will survive. He's a big, tough kid, man. And he ran, I don't know how many yards he ran for. He ran for like 1 million yards or something. So Utah, we'll see. Um, Interesting.
It could be all right.
Yeah.
I know ASU hasn't lost a single player to the portal that is expected to be a starter next year. I think Colorado is largely in the same boat, and I think that they are proving what is needed in the future. And this is kind of something I've been working on myself, and that's the importance of culture
Mm-hmm.
and getting these kids at these schools to buy in and like not just be there for money, but to be there because they really love being there. And I think that's what those guys have built. You know, Deion's kind of built the bunker mentality there, and uh, Dillingham's kind of built the love of the game and love your teammates and just like energy and just kind of the whole vibe of the place. I think that other schools need to look at those too. And then there's some other examples too. Signetti, he's doing it differently, but he's doing the same thing. You got to look at creating a culture so that these kids want to stay. Because as much as money matters, I think these kids are willing to stay at a place that they want to stay. You couldn't tell me that Levitt did not get money offers to leave ASU. He stayed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're starting to just now start to see the examples of what to do. I mean, when look at Coach going to Norfolk State, zero experience, and they're hiring because they're expecting him to build a culture there.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion, like that's largely the job of the head coach going forward. In my opinion, is you have to build a culture there that kids do not want to leave, because there's always going to be someone who's willing to offer more money than you got.
Yep.
That's just the numbers game.
Yep.
So that's what they got to do. So that, to me, that was very interesting. And then, just kind of wrap it up here real quick. I was going to say something about this. The Ivy League entering the FCS finally.
Yep.
I think it's a huge game changer. We chatted a little bit about it, and I think once you get those big time donors actually caring about their team playing for a national championship, it's a game changer. It's a game changer because at some point in time, if that's the case, like especially they're going to get one team in. There's 13 at larges at this, so they're probably at least going to get two teams in. I don't know how often teams get in three. Maybe MVC does. Maybe they won't get three in their first year. But if you look at the transfer portal every year, there's a lot of kids that leave the Ivies to go play at FBS schools. Like there's a lot, and some of them are good. But once they kind of realize, like, hey, I'm pretty good at this, there's just nowhere to go to prove it in the Ivy because they didn't play postseason game against others, so it was just kind of hard to judge.
Mm-hmm.
If these guys with their money really start to get in this game, that FCS is going to feel like a minor league to them. It's just, we're talking about Ivy League, Ivy Mind, Ivy Egos. It's not a hit against the FCS. We're also talking about
Ivy fan base too.
Yeah, it has to be built up.
Yeah,
no doubt. I mean, they got more steps to take. This is just a first step.
Yeah.
But it's one of those where now, we've been talking about this, and in the past, people are like, there's nothing to this. What's he talking about? Well, this is kind of was the first expected step. Is they gotta step out of that past, and the hardest step to take is the first one, man. Anything you do in life, just getting the inertia going and moving in a direction is hard, especially when you've been stagnant and in the same place since 1945.
Yeah.
So to me, this is interesting. I'm actually interested in the FCS now. I would love to see the North Dakota States and all those schools in that area pit up against Ivy League powers. How awesome is that? Like I'm now interested. Like, how do FCS teams get picked for this thing? Is there a committee? Do you know? I have zero knowledge, and I need to find stuff out.
Boy, I do not remember.
Yeah, I honestly, I just don't know. I've never looked. I've never been interested. It's always been kind of dominated by a certain area or region of the schools. And now it's like we might have these two complete, like opposites. Opposite areas of the country, opposite areas of mentality, of everything, of, I think it's all of a sudden become a very interesting story, not just because of what I've said, but on its own. Like, if somehow Yale is going against North Dakota State in the national championship or something like that, that's an interesting story. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, watch if they get a taste for it. Watch some money start to pull in. But as someone was saying, in basketball is not as much of a money game. It's getting there now, but it hasn't really been a money game in the past. So there really wasn't a whole lot to do, and it was more about your program. Like, a Kentucky loading up. Like, the program's got the players, but now schools with money can buy off players. So we'll see.
Yep.
They might go big in basketball and football. We'll find out.
Yep. Alrighty, man.
All right, buddy. Let's let you go, man. Good talking with you, and also congratulations, Minnesota. When did you guys become transfer portal stars?
I don't know. Yeah, we lost our first starter to Ohio State. He went in the portal, going to Ohio State. We all knew that like 4 days before Philip Daniels went in the portal, he was going to Ohio State. Funny how that works, but he wanted to play with his dream school. He started the last 4 games. He had a bad game against Rutgers. He has promise. He does have promise with red shirt, and the Buckeyes are looking for O linemen in the portal. By the way, so is the Gophers. But yeah, and it sounds like he's going to be the only starter, and he was a 4-game start. Everyone else is signed up, ready to go back, and then we've hit upon.
Oh, he hit like double digits.
Yeah, and some of those were big targets. Like some of them were multi. Javon Tracy, the wide receiver, Miami, Ohio. Rashawn Lawrence, the defensive lineman, was the second highest graded defensive lineman in FCS. We thought we were going to lose him to Oklahoma, but then he signed on. And, Fleck has a good culture going on. He did pretty good in the portal last year. 2 years ago, we got killed in the portal. The Gophers are doing some unique things in NIL. I just want to show you this. I'm going to put it up on the screen. Today it was announced that Sun Country Air, the official airline of the university, is teaming up with DT Athletics for a new NIL deal that allows student athletes across all 22 programs the opportunity to travel in exchange for social media awareness and promotion. And I've been told,
that's pretty nice.
After that came out, I was told, because I asked some questions, I said, what? And this is already going on. This is, so these guys in the portal that have been coming to Minnesota, well, they're going to get some travel. Now, I don't know if that's going to pass that, what is that thing called? The clearinghouse that's going to get set up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
they said that bad deals won't get passed, but I mean,
who knows?
I think this is the type of NIL stuff that will get passed. Like individual donors, I don't think so, but actual deals like this is like what professional athletes get.
Yeah.
So
and then Luke Bauer says a unique advantage of Gopher sports in a large market with major international airport versus traditional college town. And the University of Minnesota, so Minnesota is loaded with Fortune 500 companies, right? Just loaded. And there's a lot of money in this market, and it's one of the, and I think it's one of the reasons why the other 17 Big Ten universities don't mind us being in the Big Ten, because we got this, right? We got a lot of money in this market, a lot of corporations, whatever. But pretty much all of them have remained on the sidelines with NIL. Now, a lot of them support the University of Minnesota, and that's why it's such a big school over the last 50 years. But they've stayed on the NIL sidelines. So maybe this is a start of something. I don't know. We know that the NIL is booming, but I still think it's probably behind most Big Ten schools, but I don't know. So much of this is secret still, right? We don't really know.
that could change a lot though once this goes in house, right? Like maybe those companies aren't real comfortable with dealing with an NIL collective,
Yeah.
but once they can get that deal directly with the
Yes.
athletic department and be like
Yes.
an official partner of the
Yes.
University of Minnesota, that
Yes.
could be a game changer in a place like that.
Yes. And
And when
that's,
you do have a culture builder,
yeah.
that could be a dangerous combination in this new future for Minnesota.
Well, yes, except I happen to think, and this is where I get in trouble with Gopher fans. I get in trouble with everybody, as you know, Immaculate. I think I think if Fleck rattles off another good, they have. I think Fleck, at some point, Fleck is going to go somewhere else. In my,
Ah,
99% of
no
coaches
wonder you're
do,
catching flack.
huh?
I said, no wonder you're catching flack. I catch flack for some of my words about Ferentz.
Well, I mean, 99% of successful college head football coaches don't stay in one place, right? They don't. They don't. That's just the way it is. Kirk Ferentz, yes. Joe Paterno, yes. But most guys, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll stay here for 40 years. Or 20 years. But again, whatever. I'm not going to worry about it. We'll just take it 1 year at a time. But yeah, the Gophers have done very well in the portal. And of course, they did not have according to the rankings, they had a very poor high school class again, according to the rankings. So we'll see. I think I know it all, like next year, Gophers, I'm not like Drake Lindsay, the quarterback. We have been told he's been given a lot of money in an NIL deal to keep him at Minnesota because everyone thinks he's going to be great. But we'll see. Okay, we don't know. I don't know. Yeah. And number two, what is our offensive line looking like next year? Everything else is built. Everything else is ready to go. Everything else, except for maybe another cornerback, the Gophers are ready. But the offensive line, boy, oh boy, oh boy, we might have problems. So,
yeah, that's a tough one. But that is something that you guys up there in the north, you should be able to build.
Yeah.
That's like a Wisconsin, Minnesota thing. You dip down to Iowa. I mean, that's a region where you should be able to find those.
And we've done good. We've done good. We've done good. But this last year, the offensive line underperformed. And
everyone has
this year, I mean, coming up in 2025, we need offensive line. We're going after that kid from UCLA. So is Stanford and one other team. We're in a 3-team dogfight for a starting left tackle of UCLA. So we're in a dogfight for him. So if anybody wants to donate to Tinky Town Athletics to help us land a lineman we need so much, Google them and give them $5.
Well, here's the thing on that real quick before I head out.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get kids from far away, that type of an airlines deal might be very beneficial because I don't know if it's just for the students or if they can fly their family. And then if also they want to fly and go see their family like on a weekend or whatever.
I don't know. I don't know, but I was told it's already being used. It was announced today that it's already being used. So I don't know if that had any impact on any of these gentlemen that we got. That some of them we didn't think we were going to get. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I think that helps us the long range. We shall see, man. Yeah. But I'll get off here. Let the next person get on. But good talking with you, man. And I'm really looking forward to this weekend for football. Should be a lot of fun.
This is great. Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Great call. Immaculate, the Evil Badger, Ryan Willie, Super Chat. Thank you so very much. Wisconsin was asked to replace Marshall in that bowl game, but they declined because of the players going to the portal. Pauline and C.J. Williams left yesterday. Thank you for the super chat, Ryan. Thank you for your generosity. Hold on.
From
BJ.
BJ, can you hold on a second?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. Ryan Willie, thank you so much for your super chat. I do appreciate it very much, helping us keep the lights on. You've always supported this channel. Thank you so much. I think when Tyler Van Dyke went down early in the first game of the season against Bama, right? I think the guy that it hurt the most was Will Pauling. Will Pauling is, to me, an interesting dude. He can get open. He's a very good athlete who runs very good routes. He can get open. His one chink in the armor is his hands. As you know, Ryan Willie, he did drop a few balls this year. But it's a loss, but I think the Badger fans were kind of so upset with him dropping the passes that I think they kind of gave up on him. But Will Pauling, I think he caught, I don't know how many balls he caught, 40? I may be way off on that. But he could be an interesting pickup for somebody. If he could improve on his ball catching abilities, he's got one more year, I believe, one more year to really show out to help his NFL draft. But the guy can get open. And that's why, too many drops. Yep. But that's why, you target the guy all the time because he's always getting open. And he catches most of them. But too many drops. BJ, thank you, Ryan Willie. Appreciate it. BJ, thanks for your call. The floor is yours.
Hey, what's up, Greg? As always, appreciate it for letting me speak to your platform. A few things. I think last time we talked about, I'm just not a big fan of the administration of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
In particular, the schedule. And I was amused to see a lot of coaches speaking out, today and yesterday about it. So my first question is this: realistically, what do you think the leaders of college football can do to bring the focus back on football and not on player movement during this time?
Realistically, I'm going to have to stretch that out a bit because the way there's no leadership going on here, I would if they would call me, the fat guy from Minnesota, BJ, I'd pick up the phone and I'd say two things. One is you got to have player contracts, right? You got to have collective bargaining, right? You got to have representative to the student athletes and representatives of those of the teams or conference, and have collective bargaining, come to agreement, and then every so many years you go back to the table, you back to negotiations, players sign contracts, they can get out of them, buy out, whatever, have some more flexibility than there is in the NFL because these are student athletes having an education, whatever. But some sort of contract. Number two is I think they're going to have to think hard about moving the season earlier up in the calendar. Because, again, we talked about on your last phone call, the problem is that you've got semester classes starting here, starting in first week of January. So I know there's some proposals out there to say, hey, let's move this thing up a month early. Of course, it gets real hot. You're playing college football real hot. You want to start early August. But some people want to get this thing done in one semester of school, which I think would be almost impossible to do. But so I don't have really good answers other than those two things. And the collective bargaining, I think, is going to happen at some point. I talked about in the very first episode, a live show I ever did on this YouTube channel. I said, this is college football speaker on the corner, and we got to go to collective bargaining. But it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I agree. The collective bargaining is a must, and moving the schedule up is potential, but, you have some schools that do quarter scheduling. Most schools do semester scheduling, and so that's a little disconnect. But I seriously want it to happen because, I'll be curious to see what the numbers are. I watched the game last night. It was a very good, entertaining game. Memphis won. It wasn't a well-played game. It looked like both teams just found dudes off the street to play defense. It was like guys was running wide open. And it was entertaining, but if you like football, it wasn't a well-played game. And, similar to the NBA is an entertaining game, but when you watch it, it's not well-played. And, NBA has lost, 50% viewership over the last decade because the game has kind of shifted where it's exciting, but, it's not well-played. But last night when I was watching the game, I was like, I'm curious. I didn't know there was a game. I knew there were games coming up, but I don't know what day and stuff. And so I'm like, most of the headlines have been player movement. And I haven't seen not one major publication really, dig into the upcoming games outside of the CFP games. And I think it does a disservice because, I think that, the bowl game used to mean something to me because I like seeing like different conferences compete, but now it just seems like an exhibition, from my opinion. And so that just, came to the forefront. And lastly, we talked about before, I think I mentioned Minnesota, and I didn't really mean to call out Minnesota, in particular, but just Minnesota representing a team that's moving players, gaining players, losing players, and is it a net gain, net loss, or is it about the same? And in my eyes, it was about the same. I don't see too many teams outside of like Texas Tech really upgrading their roster. To me, it comes off a lot of teams are just swapping out good for bad, and there are going to be other issues coming up. However, as it pertains to Minnesota, I watch Minnesota. I know some of the players, not a lot of the players. One of the players went to school, close to where I went to school growing up, Bateman, down in, I think he went to school in South Georgia. Yeah. And I grew up in Tallahassee. It's like maybe 60 miles from where I grew up. But with that being said, Philip Daniels. Yeah. Is that a big loss or no?
It is because we are already replacing pretty much almost our whole offensive line. So in that case, it is. Philip Daniels started he's a redshirt freshman. He started the last 4 games. His overall grade wasn't very good. If you look at Pro Football Focus, he got destroyed against Rutgers. But he has a lot of promise. Now the Buckeyes are also looking for offensive linemen because their recruiting classes on the O-line hasn't worked out all that good. Philip Daniels is from the Cincinnati area. He wanted to go back home. And when you called the last time, I did mention we're going to lose one starter, and it's going to be this guy.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
We knew there had been, I don't know if you want to call it tampering, but we knew like days before he went in the portal that he was going to Ohio State. So it hurts because, again, the Gophers, that's the one spot now that we're going to have to get fortunate or lucky, or we're going to have to, I don't know what we're going to do, obviously. But again, I'm going to just have to agree to disagree with you. It's not necessarily what goes out, the exact thing comes in. And the Gophers, I think, are a great example of that. 2 years ago, we got absolutely gutted in the portal, and we didn't get hardly anything back. Last year, it was the complete opposite. We struck gold in the portal, and we didn't lose anybody. This year, we've lost one starter. We're not going to lose any more. We know that because we're pretty sure of that because they've all signed these Dinky Town athlete contract, and they've whatever. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. And we've gotten so much. I mean, we've gotten guys. No, we have gained. No, it is a landslide. We've gotten so much more talent back than we've lost this year as well. But that's not to say that we're golden for 2025 because, you know, we were 7-5 this year, and we're starting a redshirt freshman quarterback next year that everybody at campus in the facility absolutely loves. We had to bring him a bag of cash because Arkansas and Auburn came knocking on his door, tampering, and so he struck. We had the three biggest. I'm kind of talking about things I probably shouldn't be talking about, but the three biggest deals of Gophers, the three guys who got a huge amount of money, was Corey Purich, the All-American safety, who, by the way, is getting bigger offers that Minnesota gave him, but he's staying. But he got a huge bag of cash. Darius Taylor, the running back, and the quarterback, Drake Lindsey, who's only played a few snaps. The only college game he played in against Rhode Island, I think it was on Peacock. It was 48-0. Nobody saw it. Drake Lindsey played about 8 plays. He looked fantastic because they had him throwing the ball, but they love him so much, and the word is out on the street, so they had to give him a bag of cash. But he hasn't played. So I think we're going to be an interesting team next year. But then again, Drake Lindsey might get killed because we have a lot of question marks on the O-line. So, yes, Philip Daniels, losing him hurts because of that. Yep.
You know, I agree. Like, I've seen him play a few times, but my overall kind of logic when I see offensive linemen moving, it's the longer you're in that system, the better you're going to be. And I think he's been in the system for a couple of years, and so now you have that intellectual property that's leaving, right, for nothing, right? And so, you know, I'm on the if a player's going to leave, the receiving team has to pay something similar to what baseball and international soccer leagues do, right? There's like a fee.
And we may get to that. I think a lot of people would like that. Have a buyout. If a guy goes in the portal and somebody, depending on the contract that he signed, that other team or whatever, that money has to come and that player. But then again, all that should be settled with collective bargaining.
CBF, that should.
Yeah.
And lastly, Greg, is so the postseason, right?
Yep.
What is your feeling on the postseason? Like, it's like, to me, it just doesn't. I use them just amped up for bowl games. It's just I'm having a hard time getting amped up for these games because my mind is sidetracked with the player movement.
Oh, I'm amped up. I'm so amped up. I mean, it's Friday night. Other than the night of my wedding 22 years ago, Friday night's going to be the best night of my life. Is that amped up enough for you? Friday night, Saturday. Yeah. This is the college football playoffs, baby. The expanded playoffs. It's finally here, BJ. It has finally arrived on home campus stadiums. It's going to be electric. I'm amped up. I'm absolutely amped up.
With that being said, the winners, Indiana, Clemson, SMU, are all going to upset and move to the second round. I'm a believer in
what did you just say?
I think SMU is going to beat Penn State at Penn State.
Oh,
I think Clemson is going to beat Texas at Texas.
Oh, my God.
I think Indiana is going to finally beat Notre Dame.
Oh, my God.
Those are my three picks for this upcoming round of college football, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be an entertaining week. It's going to be an entertaining week, and those three teams, I think, are going to shock a lot of people and win and proceed and advance.
All right. Beautiful, man.
You-
Anything
You have,
else?
you have a no, sir. You have a blessed one.
You got it. Thanks for the call, BJ. We got news for Ryan Willie. Ryan Willie, the evil Badger. Whoops. Hold on. Former Buckeye Jaden Ballard is transferring to the Badgers, to Wisconsin. Jaden Ballard. There it is. That's it, Ryan Willie. That is what turns the corner for the Wisconsin Badgers. Jaden Ballard transferring to Wisconsin. There's a lot of news going on right now. It's really hard to keep up. And of course, the safety position at Minnesota. First team All Big Ten, All Americans at the safety position. Tyler Nubin and then Koya Perch. Tyler Nubin is playing for the Giants. Koya Perch for the Gophers for at least, hopefully another 2 years. Unless the evil Hawkeyes or the Buckeyes or somebody steals them from us. Charles Chamberlain, I want to see the SEC compete at altitude in Provo, Utah, and Colorado. I remember the last time that Texas went to Provo. Rock and Rant talking about the change of the schedule. I don't think it's as hard as people are making it. Just make spring ball after the semester so you don't even have to have enrolled yet. Dante Inferno Purgatory. Football was meant to be played in the elements. Anything else is basically arena football. State College forecast. Saturday. Sunshine. High at 27. Winds northwest at 10 to 20 miles per hour. SMU and Penn State. Penn State, 8.5, over, under, 53.5. The SMU Mustangs coming on in. Boy, I cannot wait. It's going to be lots and lots of fun. Again, phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Give us a call. There is a prediction of the Kentucky wide receiver that has been real, very productive. Very productive for the Wildcats. Going to Ole Miss or Georgia. Mr. Dan Key. DKR is sold out. Texas and Clemson, the game is sold out.
From
Evil
Badger. Go
to
ahead,
accept,
sir.
press 1.
Whoops, sorry. Evil Badger, the floor is yours.
Hi, Greg.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing okay. As far as expanding the playoff, I mentioned a couple days ago that I believe that it should go to 32 with the top 7 teams from the ACC, the Big Ten, SEC, and the Big 12, plus 4 G5 champions.
Yeah, you
and-
mentioned that the other day, right?
Yes.
Yes. You want this thing
And-
expanded.
Extended to 32 teams.
How many?
So you had to be in the upper part of your conference in order to qualify.
Okay. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to sneak in the Badgers and the Gophers, right? This is your ultimate plan.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Just maybe.
Yeah.
But start in early August. And go from 16 to 32 is only one more game for everybody, potentially.
Yeah.
And it's still, I believe it still could be done. All they have to do is start earlier and, well, Saki wants basically the CFP to be all SEC teams, so why not do it this way? That way the Big 12 and ACC can't complain that they're not being treated the same as the Big 10 and SEC.
Yeah, that is an option, possible option. I think that the SEC is going to make sure that they get treated the way they want to get treated here. I think we're going to be going to automatic qualifiers, Ryan Willie. And I think the SEC is going to take care of their own through politics, through the chips that they have gained when it comes to governance. It's one of those things, right? The Big Ten and the SEC, right or wrong, they have accumulated power. They have accumulated power, and
right.
they're going to use it. You do not accumulate the chips and not use them. So they're going to use it. They're going to get something pushed on through when it comes to automatic qualifiers. The playoffs are going to expand beyond number 12. I would rather have it stay the way it is. I think this is fantastic, but it's expanding. So I think we're going that route, but we'll see.
I hope. I believe it does have to get bigger because the SEC and the Big Ten are basically going to try to take over the dang thing, and then all you're going to hear about is how the Big 12 and the ACT is not being treated fairly.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And, well, so I'm just putting it out there as an option.
You got it, and I appreciate it, sir. Keep pushing for it, my man. Keep pushing for it because I think that's the way that my beloved Golden Gophers get to the playoffs. 32 teams.
Well, what about my Badgers?
Or I forgot. Your Badgers. All right, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks for the call, my man. Beautiful. If the Gophers do not get some offensive linemen, I don't think we would qualify for a 64-team playoff. So we shall see. We shall see. We shall see. All right, guys. I think we're going to close it up. We've been on the air for an hour and a half. Our Wednesday shows are usually a little shorter and a little earlier than normal. Wednesday nights are very difficult for me. So I want to thank everybody for dropping on in. Bring on the cold. College football's first round playoff games on campus has finally arrived. So we're going to be talking about tomorrow more of the playoff games, Indiana, Notre Dame. We'll make sure we have time because I want to talk about individual players on Indiana and Notre Dame. I want to talk about it. Curtis Rourke, an incredible football player for Indiana, the quarterback. But they've got more than Curtis Rourke. They've got Justice Ellison, who had a great year, a tough running back, made tough yards, over 800 yards. Justice Ellison. And they got Tyson Lawton, the big dude running back. And of course, Surratt, the wide receiver, the transfer from James Madison. And they've got like 5 or 6 guys who contributed, who caught footballs, who made first downs regularly for the Indiana Hoosiers. They spread that football out all over the place. So we're going to talk about Indiana and going to talk about the great Jeremiah Love, the running back of Notre Dame, and Riley Leonard, the incredible impact that he's had on the program. They've got one hell of a linebacker, number 41. He's going to pop out on the screen at you when you watch the playoff games. They have the secondary has recovered from the Benjamin Morrison injury early in the year. Notre Dame's defense is on fire. Marcus Freeman just signed a new contract. South Bend, the Fighting Irish against the Hoosiers. We'll break it down even more tomorrow. So subscribe, have your notifications turned on, and before you leave, smash the like button. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.